time to package what you have prepared for this training. So once again, I will just want to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this fourth training of the series training that we have started at the beginning of this year. So I believe that you will get more insight as Raymond and Ami take you through this new module, which is on professional development and again self-actualization. The previous one that we had, it was 1 month ago. It was on how really to package yourself to become a highly performing employee. So as you can see, there is a thread between those modules that you are having, and we believe that all them together will provide that information and insight for you to become who we wish you to become. So for those of you I would like to allow you to continue while I'm also taking this opportunity to I don't know if Dr. Anthony wanted to say something. If not, then I think we can start. Thank you very much.
No, I think the process can continue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sharing that video. It was great to see. I actually saw someone in that video that I know very well. Danielle Sherrard used to work as our provost here. It was great to see him. And I'm just coming back from a trip. I was actually in Rwanda last week. So it was nice to see that video. Now I'm back in Costa Rica, but at least I got to spend some time on the continent for about a week. We're going to start. I'm going to start a little. I think I'm not sure if we have new people on the webinar, but to talk about Earth. As you know, Earth University is a university in Costa Rica, and we focus on agricultural sciences. And today we're going to talk about ongoing, as we've already mentioned, ongoing professional development, and then we'll have some question and answers. To tell you a little bit about Earth, if someone new is on the call, as I've already said, we're agricultural sciences. We're in the middle of the rainforest in Costa Rica, and we really work with a student-centered learning approach and experiential learning by doing. Our students are going out into the field and into the communities to learn the skills and techniques that they need to be great in the field of agricultural sciences. We have our student body. For example, in 2021, 50% of the class, the graduating class, were women. And at any given time, we have about 400 plus, 415 students at one time here on the campus. Our faculty and students actually make up over 45 different countries. So even the faculty, we come from all over the world. And in general, 69% of our students come from rural areas. We have at this point 2,600 graduates from over 52 different countries. And a fact here is that 81% return to their home countries and 22% have their own businesses. Besides our academic program, we also have where we're transforming rural areas for the better. We have Earth Futures. We have Education for Leadership and Developing Solutions, where we're really getting into communities, not only in Costa Rica, but in other countries, to work for the better for the rural areas, to create sustainable food practices. Along with the MasterCard Foundation, as you saw in the video, MasterCard also works with Reform, working with our fellowship program, where we create spaces for graduate students on the continent to create businesses or work in companies or NGOs after they graduate, all within the agricultural sector. So today, as I said, we're going to talk keep talking about professional development, I want to introduce you to Ramon. He's from Costa Rica. He's married with 4 children. He is the director. I was skipping. He is the vice president of operations and HR director here at Earth. Before Earth, he was the director of global coaching. He works here with our staff. He also works with our students, giving them coaching and training on human resources and professional development. He worked for 10 years as the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation of Agriculture. He was responsible there for overseeing 34 countries in the area of compensation and benefits and recruitment and training. He has a BA in economics from Kansas State University in the United States, and he also has a master's degree in human resources and marketing from the University of Costa Rica. He is also a certified coach. Tell you quickly about myself. I'm a professor here at the university. I'm in charge of the internship program, and I'm also work with all the MasterCard scholars here. So I'm in charge of the MasterCard Scholars Program. I've been at Earth for about 12 years. Before that, I'm from the States. I'm from Chicago, where I worked at a health club as the manager. My degree is in international education. I've also studied a little sustainable farming, and I'm a member of a National Career Development Association. So I'm going to hand it over to Ramon, and then I'll get back to you after.
Thank you very much, Amy, and thank you, Dr. Anthony and Dr. Silvanus, for being with us today, and welcome everyone. We're going to go over the development and self-actualization, which is really important. Next slide, please.
One second.
That's okay.
You may stop sharing and then reshare again, because
Thank you. Okay.
it's probably hanging.
Okay, thank you. Let me try one more thing.
So welcome to everyone that is joining now. I can see in the chat that there's a lot of people joining the call. And okay, here we are. You know, we have to constantly look for ways to increase our knowledge. You know, as we all know, life is a challenge, and we need to become the best version of ourselves. And this is the objective, in a way, of this webinar. Can you go to the next slide, please, Amy? Okay, this is what we're going to cover today. You know, the first part, the understanding the workplace environment, and the 4 things that you can see there are going to be covered by myself. And then the second part, key attributes and skills for success, you know, it's Amy's responsibility, which we will go there in a minute. Next slide, please. Okay, let's start by looking at some relevant information related to the work environment. Can you move to the next slide, please? Okay, workplace environment, you know, the message here is that, you know, positive work environments can be defined as those workplaces where there's trust, there is cooperation, there is safety. I mean, you feel safe about working there. You know, it's fine to make mistakes, but there's also accountability, and there's also equity. You know, if you're working already and you do not feel like you have a positive work environment, you know, try to do something about it, because this is really important to feel you know, happy in the place that we work. Next slide, please. Okay, as you can read there, you know, a positive work environment improves productivity. Why? Well, because You feel the support of the organization because the relationship among individuals is one of trust and cooperations. And of course, it helps to retain talent, as you can see in the second information there, because if you're happy, you will think twice about leaving the organization, you know, and you know, if the company is doing fine, so do you. Next slide, please. Okay, this is some information that is important to keep in mind, and we're going to over this later on, but you know, we can think about 6 different work environments. The conventional work environment is highly structured and organized, includes systematic activities, you know, such as working with data and numbers. This kind of environment is characterized by routine, stability, tradition, and you know, well-defined rules and procedures. The enterprising work environment is focused on the achievement of goals and financial goals specifically. Such an environment is characterized by competition and achievement as well. The social work environment is people focused and involves activities that revolve around teaching, guiding, healing, understanding people. The artistic work environment is unsystematic and emphasizes freedom of expression, creativity, imagination, you know, originality. And this environment is characterized by freedom and lack of structure and rules. The investigative environment is focused on math and science mainly, and involves problem solving and creative and abstract thinking. A lot of the science people are in this work environment. And this is a little bit unstructured and encourages independence and freedom of thought and action. And then the realistic work environment is focused on manual work, involves using tools, instruments, and could also involve animals, plants, and working outdoors, you know. So why I'm giving you all this information? Sorry, the one before Amy. There, okay, because one can expect a mixture of these environments, especially in big companies, you know, and that's why recruiters look for different profiles of candidates, because there's a mix of these different professions in the organization. Okay, can we move to the next slide, please? Real quick here, just to let you know that we have in the company's organization culture and climate culture. Organization is about shaping people to fit the culture of the organization. And here we are talking about values, expectation, experiences, you know, it's mainly about people. And the organizational climate is, you know, how people feel at a certain time. You know, it's like taking a photograph of the organization and see how we're doing at that moment. Next slide, please. Okay, generational diversity in the workplace. As you can see, you know, their general diversity refers to having personal or several generations represented in the workplace. The reality is that now we interact with a lot of people in the workforce, excuse me, and we should respect everyone regardless of age differences. We're gonna see some information in a few seconds, and we have to keep this in mind because there's a lot of mixture of ages among the workplace. Next slide, please. Okay, as you can see here, there's mainly 5 defined generations. What we call, or people call it traditionalists, goes from 76 years and older. You know, the baby boomers from 57 to 75 years old, the Generation X from 41 to 56 years old, the millennials from 26 to 40 years old, and Generation Z from 25 years old and younger, you know. So please keep in mind this, because we're gonna see a few charts that define these generations. Next slide, please, Amy. Okay, you know, as you can see here, we have these 5 generations divided in the following manner. The traditionalist, which is the one on the left side of your screen, you know, this characteristic of these people is that people that are right on time for meetings and need to write everything on paper. They need a notebook and a pen and they write everything. Then the baby boomer, they like power presentations and it's fine to stay longer for meetings if it's needed. Then the Generation X, some of the characteristic is that they rather see videos instead of PowerPoint presentation, and they want to leave the office if it's possible at 5 or at the time it's time to leave the office in order to respect work-life balance. The millennials, the meeting for them should have a strong purpose, and the millennials like digital tools, and they like to share information in this way and expect others to do the same. And then Generation C, they want to now work from a remote location, no matter what time it is. If it's 11 p.m., 2 p.m., 9 a.m., they don't mind, but they rather work from a remote location. Next slide, please. Okay, as you can see from this slide, this is very, very interesting. Generation Z is the generation that has the fastest growing among the other 4. The millennials will have the largest percentage of people in the workforce, in a few years, let's say 5 years. Generation X will have the majority of leadership in the workforce in the next 5 years. Then the baby boomers is the generation that are the most likely to retire in the next few years. And the traditionalists is the generation that has the lower percentage of people in the workforce, of course, because of the age that they have. But again, to me, this is very interesting because it gives you a perspective of what is going on in the workforce right now. Next slide, please. Okay, importance of generational differences. We have to keep in mind that working with someone which could be older or much younger can be interesting, can be a challenge, but we have to keep in mind that everyone is trying to accomplish something to grow as professionals and to make the company or institution grow as well. So we have to be sensitive about these age differences that we might encounter in the workforce. Next slide, please. Okay, generational differences. There's definitely a generational difference that could be, as I was saying, challenging because of different communication styles and general work practices. For example, let me just give you a personal example here. As Amy was saying, I'm the director of HR here in their university, and in my team, if I want to congratulate someone for a job well done, for a couple of people, calling them into my office and giving them a letter would be a great thing to do. However, for a millennial, the letter might not be as appreciated as a good conversation that we might have, or even a message on WhatsApp, So, we reinforce good things that people do depending on the generation that we have in our workforce. So next slide, please. Okay, now as we all know, we have to work in teams. We cannot work by ourselves, So please keep in mind that in most organizations, now we have a mixture of these ages, as I was saying, and especially, if we're working as a team, we have to keep this in mind. If you belong to a younger generation, make sure to show the older generation that you're committed to the team, to the organization as well. And if you belong to an older generation, make sure you understand the needs and expectation of the younger generation in order to make a good team and a good ambience in the organization. So the message here is that you need to be aware of the different realities with your co-workers and their ways of thinking in order to have a better environment in the workplace. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now time management in professional life. As you can see there, time management is defined as the process of planning and controlling how much time to spend on specific activities. And let me tell you that managing time is now key for ourselves. Look at the second part of this slide. If we can control the way we spend our time, we will accomplish more things in a shorter period of time. This could lower stress, and if you're working, it can lead you to success in your career. So this is really key now. Next slide, please. Okay, it's really important. What the message that I want to give in this slide again is that it's really important to start your day by making a to-do list, of all the things that you want to accomplish during your day or even your week. The quality of work increases when you're not rushing to meet a deadline. So in my case, for example, I develop a to-do list that work for me, and I use it every Monday to plan my week. So if you need to develop something for your own, go ahead and do it. Or also, there's many tools on the internet that can help you with this, but please make sure to plan your day or your week ahead. This is really important in order to have a good time management. Next slide, please. Okay, the first information that we have there is about time audit. Make sure you review how you spend your time. You should do this exercise. I recommend you to do it. Write down the time you spend on doing different things, because you might end up surprising about all the things that you could improve while you write down in the way you spend your time. For example, also block out distractions. It's easy to get distracted, so try to avoid that. Schedule your task, avoid multitasking. It's not easy to do a lot of things at the same time. You have to be focused and concentrate on one thing. Insist that others respect your time. It's okay to say no. Sometimes we want to say yes to everything, and then we end up doing nothing. So sometimes just say, sorry, I'm working on this and I cannot help you right now. Get enough time to rest. That's really important. Set reminder for your task. Now with Outlook and these tools, you can, put alarms and reminder for deadlines that you have. Create a daily planner or a monthly planner or weekly planner. This is really important. And give each task a time limit, and also establish a routine. Next slide, please. Okay, benefits of good time management. The first two, greater productivity and efficiency and less stress. To me, if you can accomplish those two, you can accomplish the other three. If you can accomplish to be in a efficiency way, the way you manage your time and with less stress, for sure, you're gonna have a better reputation in your professional career, as well as increased chances of advancement and more opportunities to achieve in your life and career goals. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is also really important. It's about the 3 P's: planning, prioritizing, and performing. As in terms of planning, as I told you, you have to spend 10 to 15 minutes to plan your day or your week. Prioritizing, ask yourself, what should I do first, and what will be the outcome if I don't do it, in order to have this prioritization. And once you have planned and prioritized, then it's time to execute, which is, we can call it performing. And when you're performing, you have to be focused. If you're focused, you'll be surprised of all the things that you can accomplish. But again, planning, prioritizing, and performing is key in order to work in a much better, efficient way. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm not going to go into this. You will probably have this slide, but this is a way also to prioritize, when you can see the do, the decide, the delegate, and the delete. And this, again, chart will help you prioritize. Next slide, please. Okay, let's now move into the performance appraisal. As you can see the definition there, a performance appraisal is the periodic assessment of an employee's job performance as measured by the competency expectations set out by the organization. The performance appraisal often includes both the core competencies required by the organizations and also the competencies specific for the employee's job. But let me tell you, if you're clear on the job description that you have and the performance appraisal, you will do much better. This is a recommendation. Again, get to know your job description and get to know the information that is required in the performance appraisal, and you should do fine in terms of appraisals. Next slide, please. Okay, these are just objectives of performance appraisal. As you know, we that ones that work in HR, we could use this information in order to do salary adjustments. We can also use them to see the strengths and weaknesses of opportunities of improvement of the employees. And this will also help us with the third point that is there, which is training. We know the weaknesses or the opportunities of improvement of an employee, then we can do the training to improve that areas of opportunity. And also it's interesting to provide feedback to employees, regarding their performance and related status. And also it serves as a basis of influencing working habits of the employees. Okay, this is important because if you're being measured, you try to keep that standard all the time, so keep that in mind, which is something very really important. Next slide, please. Okay, and then when I guess we already talked about this, the advantages of the performance appraisal is, you can get promoted, you can get a salary raise, there's employee development and motivation. Okay, so again, the secret here is to understand the performance appraisal so you can do better once they evaluate you. Next slide, please. Okay, these are just different types of appraisal methods that we use. The 360-degree appraisal is the one that will evaluate everyone in the organization, because the question here that I want to ask you is, do you think it's fine for you to evaluate your boss? And to me, the answer is yes. It will be great if, of course, my boss will evaluate me, if I can evaluate him or her as well. So again, the 360 is something that will evaluate my peers, my boss, and my direct reports as well. The technological administrative performance appraisal could be based on some competencies necessary to do the job well. The manager performance or director performance appraisal is more towards evaluating some competencies related to things like, managing employees, quantitative results, key performance indicators, etc. The employee self-assessment is something which is, and I like it, and what about if I do my own evaluation and my boss do the same, and then we compare, so the self-assessment is something that I like a lot, and I think it's great when companies use it. The project evaluation review is an evaluation of the project in general. It's basically evaluate the results of the project. And the sales performance appraisal is more related to sales personnel, which the organization might want to know if sales have grown or increased, during the time of the evaluation. Okay, but again, this is just to give you some information of different appraisals that are there, and you might fit in one of these categories, so you can keep it in mind. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm about to finish now. The idea of this slide is for you to understand that, for example, the appraisal that you have in the left is a quantitative evaluation. You can see there's some numbers there, and also there is the competency. And what the evaluator do is just to choose one of the numbers and evaluate the performance of this person in a specific period of time. And the one in the right is more a qualitative performance appraisal, where you will just write down, the performance of the individual. But again, this two example is for you to know that we have different types of appraisal, and you should just be aware of the different types, so you can understand what might happen in case you have to be evaluated. Okay, but again, no worries about this. It's just a way that we use to see how the performance is going of an employee. Okay. Next slide, please. Amy. Okay, Amy, I think this is you, right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to talk about some attributes and skills for success. First of all, to be successful, you need to really look at yourself, right? What do we need? So we have basic needs, we have psychological needs, and self-fulfillment needs. Basic needs are we all need food, water, security, safety. Psychological needs, a lot of what Ramon was talking about is being, content or happy in your workplace or with your family or friends' life. It's no secret that we also need to feel a sense of accomplishment in what we're doing in our lives. And then self-fulfillment needs is self-actualization, where we need to, I think we've talked about this in all of our talks, is continuing to achieve our full potential. And that is, we've said every time, it's a lifelong process. So even after you finish the university and even after you finish your master's, if you go for master's or PhD, or even if you don't and start working, it's a continual process. I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership. So in terms of career development, potentially not everyone will go into leadership roles, but it's important because many of you will, and many of you will have to deal with different kinds of leadership. Leadership here at the university, we try to look for leaders, because what we're looking for, and I'm sure with reform, is you're going back into your communities, and it doesn't matter what degree you're studying, you need to go back and help transform and lead your communities in your country, whether it's in agriculture or economics or medicine. And we're looking for leaders. I think we all know that we look for leaders for guidance, solutions, motivation, direction. Before I start this, as we know, there's many different types of leaderships. I'm sure you could think back into some of your activities you've done, even as a small child or even in the university, and said, I've had different kinds of leadership. Some are more straightforward and delegate, tell you what to do. Some are more that will guide you through. Some don't say much. They let you do it all. So it depends. Here we're going to talk a little bit about ethical leadership, where ethical leadership is sort of that one that goes along with you, where they're leading and inspiring and motivating, where they're making you as the employee, or if you're the leader and the boss, making people feel accountable for their work. This shows that there's greater business. Success is achievable when the employees are happy. What Ramon was talking about, when employees are happy, is usually one key is that there's key leadership. So of course, as a leader, you need to set an example. Always talking about the importance of ethics. I think ethics is super important in universities and businesses. If you create your own business, you need to make decisions based on values, be aware of values. Most companies, and if you're going to start your own company, you need to set, what are your values? What's your mission? What's the value when you're going to start this business or go work for a company? And you need to be just and have respect. Of course, as the employee, examples of ethical behavior, we need to obey companies' rules. We have to be effective in our communication. We have to take responsibility, accountability, be professional, and trust and mutual respect for your colleagues at work. Sort of the same here, but as you know, ethical leadership and then an ethical environment at the workplace really starts from the top down. And it creates a safe and open space for communication, and then you would be rewarding good behavior. So if you have ethical leadership, it's shown that the employee, or even in a university, the students do better because you're reducing pressure, you're reducing observed misconduct, and this leads to a stronger workplace, stronger management style. These are just some principles of ethical leadership. Of course, respecting others, serves others, show justice, build community, manifests honesty. So some of you may be thinking, well, I'm now going to be graduating, I'm looking for a job. I might not be a leader yet, but you could be. We hope that you will be in anything that you do. I think we all have a sense of leadership with us. Some of us need to work on that leadership, but you should be looking for a leader that respects others, serves others, shows justice, builds a sense of community, and manifests honesty. When you have authentic leadership in general, this is a nice chart where you have the vision for the future, where you're servicing others. So I like this where it says focus on we rather than me. You have values, genuine relationships, and self-awareness. The world is changing. I think we've talked about this in many of our sessions. And so right now there's some top leadership changes or challenges, around the world, where we need to, just managing stakeholders, guiding change. Businesses are changing. Countries are changing, universities are changing. The past 2 years has shown us in the pandemic that we had to shift a lot of universities and go online. It was difficult for many leaders. It was difficult for leaders in businesses where now not everything's in person. So as a leader or an employee, you have to be constantly ready to change. Here's another challenges for the future of leaders in 2030. A key thing is adapting to technology. As I said, with the pandemic, we've all had to get more familiarized with social media, online learning tools, online platforms, for example, Zoom or Teams. Leaders need to keep up with the pace of change. And also us as employees have to keep up with that change. Leaders need to be ready to lead diverse teams now in a global world. The leader needs to be able to reskill and upskill not only themselves, but their employees, attract and retain talent, focus on doing good, and sort of make the organization human, not just machines. As we're going towards post-COVID, some may say, we're still in COVID, depending, but I think we're seeing the light, we're getting out. As I said, I was able to at least travel last week to Rwanda, and it had been 2 years since I had been able to do that. But this was a study where it said 87% of managers believe their skills should change as a result of the current crisis, which I think is true, right? All leaders and managers had to change. Skills need to be flexible, creative, digital. Maybe 2 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case to be that digital, depending on what you were doing. And 33% of leadership will change their online leadership habits. It's not the same as being a leader online as it is to be face-to-face. I want to just give a quick overview of leadership because it is one step into career development that some of you might not get to right away. Usually we start from, I would say, the bottom of the ladder. I personally started working at a health club at the front desk, checking people in, and then moved on to actually run that health club. But when I was there, I was constantly watching all of my managers and leaders, and I was able to take styles from each one, all the positives, and also see the negatives to what kind of leader. Now that I'm a leader at the university, I think all of our experience guide how we are a leader, and you need to take those with you. Universities, professors, and if you have any current jobs or in clubs, it's a constant saying, what kind of leader am I going to be? So with that, you sort of need to know, I think we've talked about before, who you are. I think it was last week we gave a bunch of links to take some tests, career tests, personality tests. It's important that test is not a tell-all, but if you take that and you know who you are, there's leadership tests, there's personality tests to see who you are and who you want to be and how that's going to fit into your workforce and your career plan. As we've said before, it's ongoing learning. I always like to copy Ramon, as he said in all of our, I don't think he mentioned it today, where you need to get that meeting with yourself. I'm always going to use that, Ramon, because you really do. It's a super important. Our careers are lifelong. You don't graduate and say, that's it, got my first job, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay in this position. You might say, I love this position, I'm going to keep it, but you still need to stay current. If you don't keep current, you could lose that favorite job or that job you love. Every year things are changing. As we know, the pandemic, now we're dealing with wars in predominantly in Ukraine, but other countries are having issues. Things change within our country, within our political system, within our universities, within your current workplace. You have to keep current. Some things to remember is you always need to keep current. And I think we've talked about this in the past couple webinars, is always staying current with your resume, always staying current with your LinkedIn profile. Taking classes. As we've said before, there's a lot of free online classes. Some have small costs, but if you're studying economics, okay, you're in the university, but maybe you want to get on and take a free course on leadership or digital skills. Also, it's great to volunteer and work with different sectors. And I think an important thing is, as Ramon talked about, all the different generational, how there's differences in our generations. I can see year after year, even our students here at the university. When I started 12 years ago, the student population is different. They have a different way of thinking. Myself as a professor, I don't have to change 100% because there's things that I need to keep going, but I do need to tweak what I'm doing to relate to and to get through to the current student population. So to know that when you're going into the workforce and you're 20 something and your manager or your leader could be the same age or older, that there could be differences and that you need to work through those and know those differences. As we said, this is a lifelong process. We hope that with these webinars that you'll keep going with the long life process, not only studying your technical degree, but also bettering yourself. And as I said, it's going to be a long life process. Ramon and I are constantly taking classes or going to webinars or seminars and conferences and constantly trying to keep up with the times and all the changes that happen. And it's not an easy process, but it's a wonderful process. And when you take that time, as Ramon said, to sort of sit down with yourself and write down what you need to do, as he said, for the week, for the next 6 months, put a future plan of where you want to be in the next couple of years with your career and with yourself. Thank you. Not sure if anyone has questions. I just want to say that we encourage you to take some of those tests that we've sent out in the other presentations, to sort of that where you can help learn about yourself. And if you have any questions, please let us know.
Amy, I think I saw a question about, you know, the CV and LinkedIn, and let me just remind everyone that, you know, this is one of 4 or 5 sessions that we have done. And the previous one, we cover things about how to prepare how to prepare your CV, recruitment, interviews. So I will encourage you to go back to those slides, which I suppose Dr. Silvanos or Dr. Anthony are somewhere there, or maybe at some point we can have one session and cover all this in a nutshell, if I can call it.
There seemed to be a question in the Q&A box. I don't know if you can see it, Amy.
Yeah, I can see it says, do you support in looking at individual CV upon request? You know, and again, what I was saying is that maybe this person can check the previous webinar that we have with all the information and the slides. But if for some reason he or she cannot do it, then we'll be more than welcome to take a look at it.
Agree. Okay, so someone's new it, so can we share the slides? Is it possible for the past slides to be shared? This is my first webinar here. So I assume, yes, we could. I'm assuming Reform has those past slides as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We'll share them with them.
Okay, yes. Saying that they would like all the presentations.
Sure, we can do that, definitely. The presentation will give it to you, Silvanus, and you can share them with the
I will do that.
Yeah, and also tell them that there's one more or 2 more webinars from our side that they can attend, and they will know about that on time within the next 1 or 2 weeks. See, there's another question here. Okay, this person saying that it is possible for the past slides to be shared. Of course, this is my first webinar here. So again, yeah, Silvanus will share this slide for sure. And again, as I was saying, we cover a lot of information regarding the CV and regarding the job interview and recruitment and a lot of this leadership. You might want to go back and check those slides, or again, we might end up in a few weeks doing something that will put together all these webinars in a shorter version. Okay, and you, well, Mama said thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, it seems that, okay, there is a question coming in, how to deal with an environment where team member does not appreciate what you are doing. They see as if you're not doing enough.
Okay, this is a good question, you know, and first let me tell you that there is not a perfect place to work, you know, or a perfect team to work, because we're humans and we all have different situations, you know, but I would recommend in this case to sit down and have a conversation about the expectations that this person has either from the direct reports or even from the boss. As I was saying, you know, why not evaluate your boss? It's a good idea, but the message here is that I think there's a lot of conversation because the expectations might not be the same. So we have to really sit down and tell the employee what are you expecting from them, so that they will understand what is the path that he or she should follow. I'm sure this is gonna help a lot in this situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Ramon. I do have a question myself. At the beginning of your presentation, you talked about the importance of the work environment and how you need to live it to be happy. My question is, what kind of trade-off, or to what extent you can allow for trade-off, or what we call yeah, it's a trade-off. How can you really mix your work, your professional life with your social life? I'm talking about your private life. There must be a sort of a limit, but to what extent? Because at some point, if you really want to live if you want to live, I mean, enjoy your work as a human being, it has to be really part of your life. But we do have private life and so on. How do you really mix those different aspects to achieve, I mean, high productivity?
Sure, so it is a good question, and let me start. Amy, maybe you might want to complement what I'm going to say. It's a great question, Silvanus, and what we have learned from the pandemic, at least in my case, is that there's also a possibility of work from home. And sometimes if you have kids or you have other responsibilities, it's kind of hard to be at work and take the bus or drive to your home. So one of the things that you can do, to me, is work from home. When you have a commitment with your kids or whatever, your family, you can choose, if it's possible, of course, to work from home, and then you save the time that you have to spend going to work and back. So that's a way to do it. To me, I think it works out, and especially most of the companies are allowing that. But to go back to your point, it is important to have this life work balance in these days. And again, working from home might be a tool or a way to do that.
Thank you.
I think I would like to say that we have to learn as employees, as managers, as leaders, that we have to sort of separate the two well. If if you're not able to, I think we've all had leaders in the past or managers where you can sort of tell something's going on. I think it's something that we, the self-actualization that we have to work on, as leave that at the door, and try to keep working, because if you mix the two, it can create a bad environment at work. But that's not easy to do, but it's something that I think we should strive to do.
Okay, thank you very much. The issue sometimes is that you have a job that is really where you have to be really highly committed to. There are things that you have to respond to, and you have to deliver. And sometimes even over the weekend, you have those emails, and while you at the same time, you are supposed to be spending probably time with your family and so on. So it becomes sometimes really, really challenging.
Definitely. It is a challenge. But again, Amy and I, that we have kids, and we know that, but we have to try to be in different places at the same time. What I'm saying is that, again, try to work from home, and then if you have some commitment with your family, you can be there, save some time while traveling. But again, it's a matter of organizing yourself and do more work from home. At least that's my recommendation, and if it's allowed in the company to do it.
Thank you very much. So no more questions in the Q&A box. Should we assume that the attendees have understood everything, or I do not know, but
I assume so. And as Ramon said, we can all share the slides, and then we do have 2 more sessions which are focusing more on entrepreneurship. Some of our colleagues will be doing those, but if there's a need for a certain topic, Ramon and I could come back and focus on that. But we suggest that everyone looks at those slides, and they might get their questions answered with that. If not, we can see what we can do.
okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So I will also expect that Ramon share with me the slides as well.
Sure, I will send the presentation in a couple of minutes after advance.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think there is there was a hand up, but well, I don't know if Anthony wanted. Okay, I see a team, Elaine. So then we should allow you to talk. Yes, please, Atim, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Yes, I have one questions. The question is for example, if somebody is working with a team, but there is politicians or with politicians, and if you look at the politicians, they don't like criticism. Or somebody to criticize them. Just they want to clap for them, to appreciate what they're doing, and so forth. And if you criticize them, you might, in some cases, you might lose your positions or something like this. How can we go over that? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. It's a great question. Let me start by saying that we all have an ego, right? The thing is, in some cases, it's huge, and some other is not that big. But again, let me go back to the performance appraisal. If you have that within the organization, and you have this system where it's okay to give feedback, because if you think about it, at the end, if somebody's giving you feedback, this is precious. This is something really important for you to become a better person. So you have to institute that within the organization and create a culture of feedback or performance appraisal. If that is instituted within the organization, then that's going to be easier for you. But I guess you have to start with that. You have to convince this leader that it's okay to give feedback, because we're not perfect and we need to improve as a human beings. And if you can institute this in the organization, it's going to be easier. And the other thing that I will do, which I like a lot, is just sit down with the person and say, hey, let me tell you what are the areas of improvement that I think you could have, and what are the strengths that you have. Start by saying the good things that this person has, and then the areas of improvement. But in these cases, to me, it's easier to have a tool, again, already built in the culture of the organization, rather than just give feedback for no reason at all. That's my recommendation in this regard.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Atim. So I think we are now heading to wrapping this up, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank Ramon and Amy for the time. I know it's not always easy to wake up early in the morning, like at 5 or 6, to be ready for us as always. So we are really grateful from the forum side. And we hope that this will really help the students that we are bringing together to listen to you. So over this 1.5 hours, you talked about the importance of the work environment, the diversity also of the workplace. You shed some light into the different generations that we can encounter during our work. Talk about that importance of the difference in the generation. And I may also came in describing the attribute and the skills that are important and needed for high productivity in the workplace. So really, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, to thank the students who were able to join as a referral. We are making everything possible so that the students that we are training are benefiting the most from the opportunities that are out there. I have to say that as a student, I never had the opportunity to be trained like this, to be honest. So many training sessions and so on. So it is up to you really, students and others to take those opportunities, not for granted, because I mean, they come only once in life, and you will definitely get to the place where you will be working, and then you will be having different kind of situation. And I hope this afternoon session will help you remember what you need to do during those times. So I really thank you for the time. I don't know if Dr. Egero wanted to add something.
No, it's really just to thank you. Just like you, I never had the opportunity to sit in this kind of classes and go through these sessions. It's a rare opportunity that those that are supposed to utilize are not using appropriately. But I thank those that have joined because it's valuable. It is made perhaps be the most transformative engagement that you will be reflecting during the course of your life experience and work experience. So to all the trainers, Ami and Ramon, thank you very much for giving this time. We will be meeting over in a couple of weeks in another session. Thank you very much. And my best regards to all the colleagues at Earth.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. For us, it's a pleasure to work with the forum. We love it, and you know, we're just ready for the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ame. Thank you, Ramon.
Thank you.
Bye.